If you're free soloing, it is about perfect execution or certain death.
Hello, I'm Chai Vassarelli. I'm a documentarian.
My name is Jimmy Chin, and I'm a National Geographic photographer and filmmaker.
We made Free Solo together.
The thing about El Cap is that it is huge. It's 3,000 feet tall, and it's almost hard for the mind to comprehend. The idea of climbing it without a rope was just really beyond most people's imagination.
Alex began free soloing because as a kid, it was scarier for him to speak to another person and ask them to be his partner than to go out by himself and without a partner and hence without a rope. It was very dangerous what Alex was doing. I think we really had to trust ourselves in how we would handle the material and how we would handle the story. And I think Alex did trust us with that.
The way we approached the film, which was critically important, was building the team. We needed elite professional climbers that were also incredible filmmakers and cinematographers, meaning there's only about 3 or 4 people in the world you can call. Each one of our cameramen was carrying, 45 pounds of equipment, sometimes 50 pounds of equipment. And they're also carrying, 500 to 1,000 feet of rope. You're moving up, filming, but you're also pulling your lines out of the frame and clipping them off to yourself. So as you move up, you're gaining more and more weight and trying to manage more and more equipment and rope. The boulder problem pitch was one of, if not the biggest concern for Alex. People start to understand, how choreographed all of his moves are. And I think that was something we really wanted to get across to people.
And that there was a psychological situation there too with Alex. Like Alex has thought deeply about his own mortality, but he was not interested in dying in front of his friends. And also he was acutely aware that any cameraman would feel profound fear in that moment, and that there's a reflection that happens where Alex would feel his fear. So the compromise was remote cameras.
The trick actually was that we needed to get them firing, and we weren't sure how long the batteries would last. We weren't sure if we actually got it until we came down, downloaded everything, and watched, and it was maybe one of the highlights of the entire production. The Enduro Corner is an extraordinary looking pitch. That pitch, Alex climbed in probably less than 10 minutes, maybe even 5 minutes. People often take an hour. That was a pitch that we really wanted to cover well because of its difficulty and because of the aesthetics. The way we covered that is I was off to the side, and then we had another cameraman above that pitch shooting what we call down the barrel. I couldn't see Alex because he was around the corner.
Jimmy's trying to move so fast. Alex is shooting up.
And we're kind of paralleling, and at a certain point the routes intersect again, and I see Alex coming up. He's got this huge smile on his face because he's through all the most technical difficulties. And he's coming along, and I say to Alex, "Can you give me 60 seconds? And he just looked at his phone and he said, "I'm about to break 4 hours." And I knew what that meant. He was not going to wait.
He's so happy. He's alive.
People think, oh, he's a free soloist. He has a death wish. That's not who he is.
If he was a daredevil or a maverick, we wouldn't have been interested in making the film. It was actually his process and his discipline. It was kind of the perfect storm for a documentary film, but the real kind of existential issues lay in the dangers involved. In his courage, he was connecting with people, which I think is one of the more moving parts of the film.
It's springtime. COVID's in the rear view and New York City is opening up again. You. No, good sir. You.
But one New Yorker is still stuck inside. Human rights lawyer Stephen Donziger has been locked in his apartment under house arrest without trial for over 600 days. You've been on lockdown for coming up on 2 years. Bro, what did you do? You cut the tag off a mattress.
I'm a human rights lawyer, and I have a black ankle claw shackled to my leg, courtesy of the United States criminal justice system, because I helped, as a lawyer, win a very big pollution judgment against Chevron.
You talking about Chevron, the gas station? Where I get like hot Cheetos and shit?
Chevron is one of the largest, most powerful companies in the United States of America.
Donziger's been under house arrest since 2019 when he was charged with contempt of court in the middle of a protracted legal battle with Chevron. Well, you know what they say. If you come at the king, you best not miss. And if you hit, your ass get locked up in your apartment for almost 2 years. I think that's how it goes.
I mean, the attacks on me are just to distract attention from what they did down in Ecuador and the pollution they caused.
They call it the Amazon Chernobyl.
Todo es una sola mortandad de animales, ya le digo, con la contaminación, porque se van abajo al estero, se toman el agua.
Billions of gallons of toxic waste dumped in the Ecuadorian Amazon. Rivers and lakes poisoned with oil, elevated cancer rates in indigenous tribes. Stephen and several other lawyers brought a lawsuit that led to a $9 billion legal judgment against Chevron. So why is this the first time I'm hearing about it? Where are the influencers with the little oil square Instagram posts?
I think there's an atmosphere in a lot of these media outlets where they get scared to do stories that would expose the corruption of some of their major advertisers. The New York Times actually did assign a story about me to a major journalist there. 2 weeks into it, he called me up and he said they killed the story. Major networks have reached out. One actually interviewed me extensively and the guy disappeared.
I mean, but when you say disappear, you mean like reassign, you know what I mean? Like he's like gone off the earth, right?
Chevron has a goon squad of lawyers and PR people that threaten outlets that try to cover the story in a balanced way.
You don't think that would happen to me though, right? That's like real journalist. I'm a fake journalist. We say that on the poster for The Daily Show.
I don't think they're going to go after you.
You don't think or you know? There's a big difference between the two. And Chevron being after your ass is no joke. In 2011, they filed a suit against Stephen, claiming the verdict in Ecuador was obtained fraudulently. 3 years later, they won a multi-million-dollar judgment against him. 2 years after that, the verdict was upheld after an appeal. This is a messy case, and it looks pretty bad for Stephen. And with Chevron's budget, there might not be an end in sight.
Well, this crowd is fed up with world leaders as they see it banging the same old drum. Fridays for Future, the youth-led movement protesting a lack of action on climate change, is currently marching through the streets of Glasgow, Scotland. Not far away at the UN's climate summit in the same city, decisions are being taken that will directly impact these youngsters' lives. For now, the power to affect change is out of their hands. Those sitting at the decision-making table now still have time to steer the boat around. The International Energy Agency says if all the pledges from COP26 are fulfilled as promised and on schedule, global warming can be limited to 1.8 degrees. Well, some of those big promises: slashing harmful methane emissions by 2030. India reaching net zero, even if its 2070 target is still decades later than its peers. And that landmark global agreement to end and reverse deforestation by 2030. These are momentous challenges, but if met, could be key to saving our planet. Joining me now from the heart of those protests in Glasgow, Scotland, is Phil Black. And Phil, those protesting around you, clearly passionate about conserving our planet, our home. What's the mood like where you are?
Yeah, noisy, passionate, as you say, Becky. These are mostly young people. This is a youth protest. These are people who do not have a great deal of faith in the negotiating process that is taking place in a conference centre not too far from where they have gathered here in this square in the centre of Glasgow. These are people that have been watching the deals as they have been announced through the week, many of which you have just detailed. These are deals which indicate real progress in a way that do, to some degree, put the world on a low-carbon path, but which, crucially, are still insufficient. For all the enthusiasm surrounding them, the science says it's not enough. The people that are gathering here today, in their thousands, very firmly believe it is not enough. What these people want to see is more ambition, much greater political will, the sorts of decisions that will result in really significant changes in the short term. But this is only the start. We're about 1 week through the conference process here. This is when the protests traditionally happen. This is the first of them, this youth protest. We're going to be seeing an even bigger one over the weekend. Tens of thousands of people are going to be marching through the centre of Glasgow. More people have travelled vast distances because they're not satisfied with qualified deals and incremental progress.
We're a landscaping company. We're experts in ground maintenance, irrigation, seeding, planning, not press conferences.
Why would the president's lawyers hold a press conference at a landscaping company?
It was a pretty quick setup. Obviously, you saw it was on TV. It was a landscape construction yard.
Wow, what a beautiful day. Thank you.
We just had no idea what we were in for.
Oh my goodness, all the networks!
I remember asking, did we make a mistake?
We had a lot of haters.
You have 1,010 new messages.
It created a lot of fear of what the future holds for Four Seasons Total Landscaping.
We got put into a corner and we used our humor to get us out of it.
Oh, all the networks.
They made a joke out of everything because it was funny to us.
It's an American underdog story.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has announced the scrapping of agricultural reform laws that have been the cause of a year of protests by hundreds of thousands of farmers. The measures allowed growers to sell produce beyond government-regulated markets, but they hurt small farmers who took to the streets in large numbers. Hundreds of people are thought to have died in clashes with police. In an address to the nation a short while ago, Mr. Modi said the government had been unable to convince some farmers of the benefits of the three laws.
Today, while apologizing to the countrymen, I want to say with a sincere and pure heart that perhaps there may have been something lacking in our pious efforts, due to which we were not able to explain to some farmers the truth which was as evident as the light of the lamp.
Salman Ravi is in Delhi getting reaction from farmers at one of the protest sites in the capital.
It's a big day for the farmers in India as the Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced this morning to repeal the 3 farm laws that were enacted by the Indian Parliament.
It's a great auspicious day for us. As a farmer, I'm really happy, and from all farmers, I'll see the happiness on their faces. It's a really good day.
It has been a long time since you've been protesting.
At least around about 1 year we are protesting for our rights. So today we are just got a hope that our demands has been going to be fulfilled.
This was a real surprise to anyone, I think. I mean, the farmers were planning to celebrate, or mark, should I say, a year of their protests at the border with Delhi. They'd planned various events, and they'd been there through so many seasons. They'd been there through the dark winter last year, and of course that second wave of COVID and the incredible heat, and they were willing to keep going. But farmers were particularly concerned that they would lose the minimum pricing guarantees that they get for certain crops. At the moment they sell through government-regulated wholesale markets, and so they're given a specific price for certain commodities. And they were worried that once you open it up to market forces, eventually those prices would come down, and particularly those farmers with small land holdings, they were worried that it would drive them out of business. So in many ways you had an economic argument from the government, and in other ways it was an emotional one from the farmers just as much as an economical one. And, you know, Prime Minister Modi in that address to the nation said that he failed to convince the farmers of the benefits. And that is quite, as I say, a stunning U-turn from a leader who rarely backs down.
Rajini, thank you very much. Rajini Vaidyanathan there in Delhi.
They have come by the thousands. Afghan refugees landing in Philadelphia, the first stop in a new life in the United States after their abrupt departure from their homeland. Currently, that new life is unfolding at Joint Base McGuire-Dix-Lakehurst for what officials called Operation Allies Welcome. Action News race and culture reporter Taronda Thomas was there today, and this is what she saw.
Learning a new language in a new land.
1, 2, 3.
Children at McGuire-Dix-Lakehurst Air Base in Pemberton, New Jersey, but drawings show their hearts are with Afghanistan. They are among the 14,500 lives changed while living in Liberty Village under Operation Allies Welcome.
Our unwavering goal has been to make their life in this temporary location better every day.
On the grounds, 3 villages, which are now new homes for those who fled Afghanistan. Many spent years helping the U.S.
I work with U.S. Navy.
Dr. Ghulam Ishan Sharifi left everything behind as the Taliban took over.
I was hired and so it was dangerous for me to go out.
Flights took him and so many others out of Kabul and to safe havens throughout the U.S. Arrivals start in this room, which Celine Husazeda remembers well from her September 8th arrival.
When I get to the base, I felt that here I can rest.
The 1 to 3 hours of processing encompasses mandatory vaccines, including for COVID. The medical care expands in a series of tent-like buildings built from the ground up, providing everything from dental and medical appointments to care for newborn babies, 100 of them born in Liberty Village, the newest Americans.
It's beautiful. I'm just so optimistic for their future and the life that they're going to have here in the United States.
Children who connect with the American service members who see them every day, trying to have some sense of normalcy, even down to the halal certified food.
I know the evacuees are grateful.
These refugees will become American citizens and resettle in cities across the country, including Philadelphia. While they wait, they go to job fairs, take English classes, and even do art therapy to work through the trauma.
People see you, people care about what you're saying, they care about what you're feeling, and they care.
One thing that really came through here is the overwhelming sense of gratitude from the Afghan people. Some of them little kids who ran up to us smiling and waving and saying perhaps one of the only words they know in English, hi. 1 to 2 groups of Afghan refugees arrive here every week. The next group will arrive on Sunday. At Joint Base McGuire-Dix-Lakehurst, Taronda Thomas, Channel 6 Action News.
Hello, my name is Yuval Noah Harari. I'm a historian, and I would like to talk to you about how we humans conquered the world. Humans have been around for millions of years. See that little group over there? They are our very distant ancestors. Their behavior looks kind of familiar, don't you think? But they weren't very different from gorillas, elephants, or birds. There was nothing special about these early humans. They were insignificant animals minding their own business in a corner of Africa. There was no sign that one day they would conquer and transform the whole world. This graphic novel explains how these insignificant apes acquired godlike powers and became the rulers of planet Earth.
Since the onset of the pandemic, over 100 of these colorful fridges have popped up all over New York City. They're for the community, by the community, giving free food to those most in need. Faroud Amiel joined the community fridge movement when he and a group of volunteers launched a fridge in December 2020.
I'm the director of Mutual Aid for Southside Action Pack, but I just go like Fridge Boy. That's what they call me on Liberty Avenue.
Faroud found a spot for the fridge in front of the shop of his longtime barber and friend.
I was like, Dave, I really want to start up a fridge concept in front of your shop. It's about mutual aid, and we talked about it, and he was like, put it up, let's give it a shot.
Explain to everyone, what is mutual aid?
Mutual aid, it's folks on the same peripheral level, just helping each other out, community helping out community.
The fridge movement has taken off across the U.S. during the COVID-19 pandemic. In New York, as 1 in 4 New Yorkers face food insecurity, free fridges exploded from less than 10 in 2019 to nearly 130 by mid-2021. Community fridges don't have the barriers of traditional food banks like paperwork or ID, and they're right in the community where there's a need. Fridges can be stocked from excess food that would otherwise go to waste, or through donations on apps like Venmo or GoFundMe. Members of the Community Fridge Network in New York stay in touch through social media, and each fridge has its own team of dedicated volunteers that clean and stock the fridge daily. What do you think it is about the community fridge model that's worked so well?
I think it's like the accessibility of it all. When you think about how people could get food from the government or even FDA boxes or to get food NYC, there's a lot of barriers. You have to sign up through a form, you have to have internet access. You literally have to give them sometimes an ID number, social security. With the fridge, it's just something you can literally just come, grab, go. It's free, it's no strings attached, but also it's organized by people within their community, so it's more comfortable. It's not a governmental institution coming in and giving you the food. It's your own folks around the community contributing. So I think it has that essence of like community collaboration over the government coming in and helping us.
The community fridge movement is the embodiment of the one small step spirit. Individuals stepping up to make a difference and solve a problem in their communities. And it was so inspiring to meet everyone today and learn how they've created such a wonderful grassroots movement right here in Queens.
This is Chai, which is the Thai version of a popular caffeinated drink, commonly known as milk tea, that's loved in many countries across Asia. But over the last year, milk tea has taken on a new meaning as a symbol that brings pro-democracy campaigners together across the region. The Twitter emoji for the Milk Tea Alliance was launched in April as part of a celebration of the Online Alliance's anniversary. It shows different shades of milk tea from Hong Kong, Taiwan, and Thailand, where democracy activists and social media users formed the informal Online Alliance. The grouping has influenced campaigners both online and on the street, where people are fighting for democracy and against authoritarian rules.
Most of the prominent activists are either in jail, on trial, or in exile. We're facing the largest authoritarian regime in the world. We never want to feel alone. We want to feel supported.
This was one of the scenes of the protests in Hong Kong. The focus has been the fight against China's growing suppression on the city's freedom and also the tightening control over the elections. In Taiwan, they have also been struggling with Beijing's growing ambition. We have seen Myanmar's protesters rallying against the junta following a military coup in February. In Thailand, there's protests calling for reform of the country's monarchy.
The Milk Tea Alliance started when democracy supporters across Asia tried to push back against pro-Beijing forces online. One Thai celebrity was attacked by pro-China trolls on social media for supposedly not respecting the One China principle. That prompted people from Hong Kong and Taiwan to join Thai netizens to push back with a bunch of online memes.
People in the region have been oppressed by their government. The suffering of the history by the government or from intervening from other countries that put people in the suffering. So milk tea means liberty for them.
Activists across Asia hope that the Milk Tea Alliance can become bigger than just a community, and that may eventually even change the region's future.
Every politics is local, and if the representative in that region are more aware of a shift of attitude towards Hong Kong or towards China, that it leads to a much more aggressive China policy or Hong Kong policy, then the politics could change.
Until the government have the power to censor the word, the Milk Tea Alliance still exists, and they will be like the ideal of our common faith, common alliances that we longing for a very long time.
My Uncle Sal.
Your real Uncle Sal.
My real. There's always, every Italian family has an Uncle Sal. This is true. And then Cousin Johnny here. We heard loud and clear from a number of the gardeners here at the San Pedro Community Garden that it was very hard to access water. What the sanitation did was fund the program to install the piping that's needed to get to each specific plot. And without water, we're nothing here, especially when it comes to gardening. Tell us what you got here.
What I got here is some eggplants.
You got peppers. Bell peppers? Look at that. This is important for me because I grew up in the San Pedro Gardens. I'll never forget when my grandfather took me here. And he was able to share his fruits of labor, literally, and to see vegetables and fruits get from farm to table. In addition, my uncle and my father and our cousins and a lot of the seniors here have a place to go, and this is great physical therapy for them, and they are so proud of their fruits of labor here.
These gardens began in the mid-70s, food rescue, food recovery, and food security as part of our mission. An environmental justice issue, a environmental protection mission, the profound meaning that they have for the community of San Pedro, which someone like Joe has lived, is hugely important.
My Uncle Sal just handed him some bell peppers and also some eggplants. He's got grapes for everyone. That's the beauty of our community garden program. A lot of our residents and gardeners, they share their fruits of labor with others, which is beautiful. When people are struggling, when they are struggling financially, they can take advantage of these community gardens to put food on their table.
Aaron Morris lost his car, but was able to get back what was most valuable to him.
Mama! Jolene!
His beloved dog. Little Jolene was abandoned in another state, but now she's finally home. This little cutie's name is Limbani, and he is more than happy to see his adoptive parents. They haven't seen each other in 3 years. Watch this wild lioness turn into a playful kitten at the sight of the man who saved her many years ago. This boy burst into tears, but not because he wanted this kind of gift for a long time. This is his lost pug, Piper. It was given to him when his brother lost his battle to cancer. A volunteer named Miro and the monkey he saved from starvation can only see each other once a year when the circus comes to town. But each of their reunions is simply priceless.
Oh, well, look at him. He's kissing you.
A schnauzer named Casey hasn't seen the person she loves most in 2 long years. No wonder she was so overjoyed that she even fainted.
Is she okay, by the way?
Animals never forget anything. See for yourself. This one recognizes its owner amongst a group of people, and now it won't let him go. Dean Schneider hasn't seen his family for 2.5 weeks, and this is how they're happy to have him back. That's right, I'm talking about these lions, because 4 years ago, this man sold his company in Zurich to become a part of their pride in South Africa.
Keep your head up. Mama!
This is how this man calls his pet, and it's clear from the response he gets that this is not a dog at all. Derek has been with these elephants since they were babies, and now, many years later, they consider him one of them. As you know, cheetahs are ferocious enough to rip a gazelle in half.
Boy, Gabe, hey buddy. Hey, boy, remember me?
Good boy, Gabe.
But not this purring cutie named Gabriel. The two met a year earlier and haven't seen each other since, but the wild animal immediately recognized its friend.
You're a good boy, Gabe. You're a good boy.
Watch as Damien Aspinall calls out to his old friend with hope.
Come on!
He raised a gorilla named Kiabi and released him into the wild 5 long years ago. But Kiabi recognized the voice of this person and doesn't want to let him go again.
I'm gonna get out of here.
As they say, you ask a brick what it wants to be, and it'll say an arch. But you ask a mason what he wants to build, and he'll say an arch.
I was really just blown away by how such an old technology was still functioning.
It lasts. We know that. When people talk about a 50-year building, to us, that's really nothing.
There are many great Guastavino buildings all over the country. In whatever city you're in, you can almost certainly find a significant building with Guastavino vaulting. Many architects and engineers today marvel at the construction of Guastavino vaults, but few really understand how they were put together. We wanted to demonstrate the technology of the vault by recreating a vault to show the stages of construction, the layering of the tiles, and how they were able to create such remarkable patterns.
What we're really doing is just making a half-scale model. We have to balance all the forces so it doesn't burst, doesn't fall over. This is accomplished by using steel columns and steel ties. The true master builders who built this building didn't have any formwork, any guides for the vaults. We start 4 edges by making arches.
I've worked on many, many arches. Arches, no problem.
From those arches, we start laying tile in a vault shape. So the real magic starts once we start using plaster Paris. The plaster Paris dries fast enough that you can butter up the sides of the tiles, hold it there, and 20-30 seconds, it'll stay. The first layer is really what makes this Guastavino vault possible.
But rather than close it in the middle, we've left it open and we've peeled back the different layers to try to demonstrate the construction technique made of thin tiles only about 1 inch thick with layers of mortar in between.
It works in like a whole network. Generally, the last step would be attaching visible tiles on the bottom, and these are usually more ornate.
We had carefully drawn 3-dimensional drawings of the vault, but then when you build it in reality, there are always adjustments that had to be made. So there was a lot of learning that occurred between the masons and the architecture and engineering students. And so we viewed this as a great opportunity to bring together professional masons and craftsmen with architects and engineers, trying to better understand how these are built and trying to create new vaults for the future.
Teaching our young architects and teaching our engineers, we're desperately trying to get back to masonry.
The Guastavino company was one of the greatest possibilities for creating beautiful, durable structures.
And we are mortals trying to recreate what he did.
Today we're out here with Don Bliss and Rock and Cindy Wood from Wood Fire and Emergency Services, and they are helping us train HSU students and some local participants to do prescribed fire. It's been really nice watching them learn how to do weather, become firing trainees and into firing bosses. You know, Alex is a beast. This guy just went by here. He could pack almost anything up these hills, but he hasn't stopped smiling since he arrived. So it's fun. And having Rock and Cindy come out, we had Terra Fuego and Firestorm the first 3 days, and then we switched burn bosses so they could continue the SRA flame grant while we continued on with the treks for elder and structure protection. So we're currently on the Nix property, which has been on the I should say the block for a while. We've been trying to get here and take care of his property, make sure that he and his wife are safe. And yesterday was really nice for him to say that we took a huge weight off of his heart by knowing that now he's safe. He doesn't have to worry about something coming and taking his home. It felt really good yesterday, and you know, leaving here last night was really nice. They all left in great spirits. Everybody was happy and enjoying themselves, and they're learning so much.
Which is the one you just dragged out? This one?
So I'm enjoying it immensely. This year, for the first time, Cultural Fire Management Council is able to, through the flame grant on our SRA units that we're working in conjunction with Terra Fuego with, we were able to compensate some of the participants that did the trails, put in fire line for us, and we were able to also pay them to participate in treks. So it's been really nice to be able to offer them, for the first time in years, something for all the work they've been doing for us over this period of time. The young people that are doing this are all involved in prescribed burning, basically just to help Cultural Fire restore the land. So before it was just the love of doing it, and this is just a bonus for them, as they say. Coming in January, we'll be able to actually hire staff. We like to call ourselves firelighters since we do prescribed burning. I'm happy to have young people out here interested. The Yurok Wildland crew is more than excited every time they know Trex is arriving. They're just excited to be here. So hoping that, you know, with being able to reach out with more grants, we'll be able to find more young people jobs, help them find the life they want here. A lot of these young people don't want to leave home. So if they have employment here, if they're able to restore their land and feel good about what they're doing, it's beneficial to everything here. So being able to have tribal members come out on these prescribed burns and restore their land makes them feel real good. And the young people are really interested in various areas now. We've got young people asking us if they could go out and get some EMT training, how would that help? You know, all of those things help because it's part of the IEP, our components that we need for our burn plans in order to make this all happen. You know, the permitting processes are kind of cumbersome, but if we can do this and create a project that works all the time, or a company that works all the time, then it'll be much easier for a young person to step into, say when I decide to retire, step into my shoes and be able to do what I do. And that's my goal, is to be able to train the young people to take this and walk away with it once we're done.